All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Key Mafikeng Leadership Workshop. I'm glad to see everyone here. Just to allow everyone to come in tonight, I'm just going to give a few minutes for everyone to come in. So what you can do is feel free just to comment in the chat room, and then we're just going to give a few minutes, and then we'll start off with the night session. So what you can do in the chat room, you can tell me where you're from, and then I will notify that. So we have Obril all the way from Mafikeng, welcome. Natasha from Centurion, Unita from the Eastern Cape, welcome. And so I'm so glad to see you guys this evening. Feel free to pop Elmie from Mafikeng. Thank you, Elmie, to be here, LC to be here. Angelique from Plettenberg Bay, welcome. Jamila from Cape Town, welcome. I'm so glad that you guys could join us this evening. Nokwanda from Pretoria. Wow, we have someone from Kenya, welcome. Welcome to Mzanzi. Glad to see you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to just pop up, just to pop in the chat where you're from, and I will see if I can I will make mention of that. And we're just going to give a few minutes, and then we will start off with the next session. Welcome. I'm always glad to see international people. Kenya, you're presenting. I saw Pretoria, I saw Eastern Cape, I saw the Western Cape, I saw Mafikeng. All right. Molweni, Mzanzi, Goeienaand, South Africa. Good evening, South Africa, and welcome here to one of the Golden Key Mafikeng campus leadership workshop tonight. And it is absolutely my honor that the team has invited me to be the MC of a phenomenal speaker that will speak to us tonight. Allow me to read her bio to you. She is the one and only Dr. Elmie Castleman, C-suite executive with 20 plus years experience in strategic leadership, general management, research, business engineering, and organizational development across a wide range of institutional and cultural contents. Creates suitable impact through strategic insight, operational excellence, and high-level relationship management. Extremely skilled in strategic and operational planning, talent development, team building, and facilitation, monitoring and evaluation, program and project management, transformation management, knowledge management. This sounds like a powerhouse individual. So Elmie has a professional record as distinguished as it is diverse. Trained as a nurse and a health education professional, Dr. Elmie shifted her focus early in her career to management training and consulting. She served as the Chief Academic Officer for the Foundation for Professional Development for a decade. Dr. Elmie was recruited to the Mafikeng Nation in 2009 to design and run a project and program management system that could plan, track, and measure the nation's ambitious development agent. Dr. Elmie built on the experience by leading the Royal Bafokeng Economic Development Agency and was ultimately appointed Group Chief Operational Officer on the Royal Bafokeng Administration, a world-recognized leader in community-based development. Wow. My God, this is such an amazing bio. She is currently the Regional Director for Golden Key International Honor Society, Southern Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and the honor to introduce you to our keynote tonight, which is Dr. Elmie Castleman. Over to you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Good afternoon. Welcome at the Redefining Leadership Seminar. I want to start by congratulating the leadership of this chapter with a bold decision to host a 3-day virtual seminar. It endorses once again the caliber of leaders in Golden Key, Southern Africa. Congratulations. Today I'm going to confront you with a question. Are you a leader of people, or are you a leader for people? I'm Elmie Castleman. I'm the Regional Director for Southern Africa, Golden Key. I'm going to discuss Golden Key and leadership. We have exemplary examples of leaders in Golden Key. I'm going to talk about successful leaders are agile and what it means, the impact of the industrial migrations, what leadership skills are relevant, purpose-driven leadership, brave and courageous leaders, and tomorrow's leadership. Golden Key International Honor Society's mission is to enable our members to realize their potential through the advancement of academics, leadership, and service throughout their careers, a lifelong journey. Leadership is an integral part of the development of Golden Key International Honor Society members. The Golden Key Academy is a place of online learning, created and run by Golden Key International Honor Society. It is covering career development, workplace readiness, communication, study skills, personal finance, and leadership. Again, a focus on the development of leaders. Let's have a look at our chapter leaders, our advisors and presidents. Ayanda Mtweta, Dr. Savo Hileta, Dr. Elizabeth Smith, Professor Robert Balfour, Professor Linda Duplessis, Angie Malope, Professor Eunice Seku, Professor Stanley Pakula, Ati Matinisi, Prof. Ilva Rodney Kumede, Rowena Bernard, Karen Sita, Dr. Rina Vulcan, Natasha Kitchen, Mutsidi Abigail Mulondo, Dulcie Malamabe, Deborah Lamson, Nao Cindy. These are the brave leaders of our various chapters of Golden Key in Southern Africa. And we thank them for their exceptional leadership and contribution in developing leaders for tomorrow. Our presidents, Nicholas Gowden, Lesedi Letlake, Ubriel Maposa, Kudzai Mashure, Karabu Lepele, Christopher Tupaya, Tulani Ramasela, Kristen Achapong, Duli Pohelu, Kamvilile Madikizela, Caitlin Cavenden, Mandla Ngidi, Muhammad Hussein Suleiman, Alia Shah, Tubeka Malambo, Naledi Nguse, Caitlin Olivier, Gabriela Mashike, Galaletsang Tepeku, Bukone Mola, Yamin Badruddin, Sayabulela Siyanda Putonsi. Thank you very much. These are our young leaders representing Golden Key at the various chapters, and they are doing extraordinary work. As you can see, the 3-day leadership was managed and initiated by the Golden Key Mafikeng chapter. Let's have a look on the impact of the industrial migrations on leadership. The Future of Jobs report in 2016 mentioned that 65% of children entering primary school today will ultimately end up working in completely new job types that don't yet exist. And we already see that. The future shock in 1917. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. That's why Golden Key focuses on a lifelong journey with our members to make sure there are opportunities to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And the Global Silicon Valley 2018, after healthcare, the market for global education is the largest in the world, valued at $6.3 trillion US. That emphasizes the focus on continuous development, on a lifelong journey of learning. Charles Darwin, in 1819 to 1882, we all know him, he doesn't need any introduction, said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change." And we know how our lives changed drastically, not only over the last 18 months, but throughout centuries. Let's look at the industrial revolutions. In the first revolution, the 18th to 19th century in Europe and North America, introduced and featured steam engines. In the second industrial revolution, 1870 to 1914, featuring steel, oil, electricity, and combustion engines. In the third revolution, we saw the introduction of digital revolution, featuring personal computers and the internet. And then the fourth industrial revolution, the 21st century, advanced artificial intelligence, big data, robotics, the Internet of Things, blockchain, and crypto. None of these concepts need any introduction to you. You are all confronted by it in a daily basis. We're all moving forward, steam to electricity to computing to being connected. Is that the ultimate? Let's see, what are the features of the fourth industrial revolution? These are all modern concepts to increase productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness. Flexibility, efficiency, communications, safety, and security. The fourth industrial revolution will affect the very essence of our human experience, according to Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairperson from the World Economic Forum. And we do see that, and we do experience that in our everyday lives. The way we bank, the way we shop, the way we order takeaways, the way we communicate with one another, the way we network. In the fifth industrial revolution, humans and machines will dance together metaphorically. This was said at Davos 2019 at an event sponsored by Forbes, MIT, and Tata, with the theme, Blockchain and Artificial Intelligence and Human Creates Magic. We talk about the fifth industrial revolution. What is the new aspect in the fifth industrial revolution? The addition of human. This equation seems impossible to some, but it can and will prove true. Artificial intelligence will help increase human labor productivity. Blockchain will help give access to banking to the unbanked and intangible forms of capital. Robots will help humans align returns on investment with purpose, but it will require intentionality and moral clarity. We see the changes in nuances. This is what the fifth industrial revolution is and why it matters, as was discussed in 2019 at the World Economic Forum. The heart, the human, is coming back into industrial revolutions. In the fifth industrial revolution, the connection of innovation to purpose and inclusivity. This will impact on the skills that we need as leaders of tomorrow. What are the top 10 skills for 2020 identified by the World Economic Forum in 2016? Complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making, service orientation, negotiation, cognitive flexibility. I see a lot of human elements in these top 10 skills. What are the top 10 leadership competencies that's grouped into 5 themes? Strong ethics and safety, self-organizing, efficient learning, nurtures growth, connection, and belonging. Again, we see a strong element of the human being. The director of the London School of Economics says, in the past, jobs were about muscles. Now they're about brains, but in future, they'll be about the heart. This is where we are, the fifth industrial revolution. The 2 non-routine kinds of work that will be difficult to automate are emotion and context. Emotion plays an important role in human communication. For example, the physician sitting with a family, or that bartender interacting with customers. It is critically involved in virtually all forms of non-verbal communication and in empathy. Emotion is not only complex and nuanced, it also interacts with many of our decision processes. Context, the second element. Humans can easily take context into account when making decisions or having interactions with others. Context is particularly interesting because it is open-ended. For instance, every time there's a news story, it changes the context, large or small, in which we operate. Changes in context, for example, the election of a new president, can change not just how factors interact with each other, but can introduce new factors and reconfigure the organization of factors in fundamental ways. This is a problem for machine learning, which operates on data sets that by definition were created previously in a different context. Thus, taking into context is a challenge for automation. Emotion and context are not easily automated. Learning agility drives people in the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution, and it has 7 distinct categories: problem solvers, thought leaders, trailblazers, champions, pillars, diplomats, energizers. And that is why the Golden Key Academy also encompasses these 7 distinct categories as themes in the Academy. Our ability to manage and utilize emotion and to consider the effects of context are key ingredients of critical thinking, creative problem solving, effective communication, adaptive learning, and good judgment. It has proven very difficult to program machines to emulate such human knowledge and skills. Building a growth culture requires a blend of individual and organizational components. An environment that feels safe, fueled first by top taught by leaders willing to role model vulnerability and take personal responsibility for their shortcomings and missteps. A focus on continuous learning through inquiry, curiosity, and transparency in place of judgment, certainty, and self-protection. Time-limited, manageable experiments with new behaviors in order to test our unconscious assumption that changing the status quo is dangerous and likely to have negative consequences. Continuous feedback, up, down, and across the organization, grounded in a shared commitment to helping each other grow and get better. These are deliberative development cultures, as written by Keegan and Lai's work on building these cultures. What are the 8 essential steps to purpose-driven leadership? Let's look at the work of Professor Quinn and Tako. These 8 essential steps are a vision and inspired workforce. How do we know our workforce is inspired? Not only to earn a living, but actually inspired by the work. How do we recognize the need for authenticity? Discover the purpose. Turn the authentic message into a constant message. Stimulate individual learning. Turn mid-level managers into purpose-driven leaders. Connect the people to the purpose. Unleash the positive energizers. We see a strong line of the same messaging from different researchers from different contexts. What does it take to be a brave and courageous leader? I'm going to strongly lean onto the work of Professor Brené Brown, the author of Dare to Lead, Brave Work, Tough Conversations, Whole Hearts. Let's see. Let's compare 2 kinds of leadership, daring versus armored leadership. Armored leadership. Many leaders still believe that if the connection between the heart, vulnerability, and other emotions and work is cut, then people will be more productive and easier to manage. But imprisoning the heart kills courage. When people are cut off from their emotions, they lose control over their decision-making and behavior. Armored leadership drives perfectionism and fosters fear of failure. It emphasizes being right, using power over others, and control. It tolerates discrimination and a fitting-in culture, using criticism as self-protection, and is all about collecting gold stars. Armored leaders try to fill a gap in their self-worth by using their power. Do you want to be a leader of people or for people? Daring leadership encourages and models healthy striving, empathy, self-compassion. It emphasizes being a learner, using power with others, and cultivating shared purpose. It cultivates a culture of belonging and inclusivity. Do you see purpose-driven leadership? Of making contributions and taking risks. And it's all about giving gold stars. No more collecting gold stars. Daring leaders are curious about their own blind spots and are committed to helping others find their own blind spots in supportive ways. Do you have the courage to be a daring leader? A leader for people. There are 4 teachable and observable skill sets of courage. That's the good news. The 4 skills are embracing vulnerability, living core values, braving trust, and developing resilience. I'm going to unpack each one of them. Let's start with embracing vulnerability. Embracing vulnerability is where the heart comes back into management. Embracing vulnerability is having the courage to show up when you can't be sure of the outcome. Be a daring leader, one who is not afraid of change and new challenges, recognizing it not as a form of weakness, but as a willingness to acknowledge when you don't know all the answers. Instead of protecting the ego by avoiding difficult situations, embrace vulnerability by encouraging empathy, curiosity, and shared purpose. Setting boundaries in vulnerability, defining what is and is not okay. A leader who shares without understanding their role and its professional boundaries is just venting, purging, or making a play for sympathy. Similarly, we can set boundaries on tough conversations. It's okay to be angry right now. It's not okay to yell. Or it's okay to be passionate about this. It's not okay to interrupt or put people down. Having difficult conversations. Leaders must either invest time attending to fears and feelings, spend time trying to manage unproductive and ineffective behavior. If a manager is addressing the same problematic behaviors over and over, she or he may need to dig deeper to the thinking and feeling driving those behaviors. A leader cannot and should not avoid the difficult conversations. Let's look at empathy versus shame. Let's start with shame. Building emotional armor around our ego does not protect us from feeling unworthy, disconnected, or isolated. It, in fact, guarantees all of those feelings. One emotion we all try to avoid is shame. Shame is a universal experience, the awful feeling that we are flawed and unworthy of love and connection. Shame says you are bad. Shame is not the same as guilt, which says you did something bad. Or humiliation, which says they deserve to suffer. Or embarrassment, which is fleeting and even eventually funny. Let's look at empathy. Empathy is the opposite of experiencing shame. It is experiencing empathy. We cannot resist shame, but we can build resilience to it by cultivating empathy. Empathy is choosing to connect with others by seeing the world as they see it, being non-judgmental, and making it clear that you understand the other person's feelings. It starts with being able to name and talk about our own feelings. Empathy is something we can get better at with practice. The good news is all of these characteristics are things that we can learn. Empathy versus shame. Shame is universal. It's an emotion that we all try to avoid. It manifests as favoritism, gossiping, harassment, perfectionism, and cover-ups. The opposite of shame is empathy, connecting to the emotions that underpin someone's experience. It's also possible for us to learn to have empathy. The second one of the teachable and observable skill sets of courage is living core values. Now that we embraced vulnerability, let's have a focus on living core values. Daring leadership needs clear values values that the leader lives by every day. Melinda Gates says that tying tactics to core values and then explaining them to others makes a leader better able to question their own assumptions. The key to operationalizing core values is to be very clear on the skills that undergird those values. Set clear expectations for everyone to create a shared language and a well-defined culture. Let's see how to do that. Living into our values means aligning our intentions, words, and behaviors, and that's the core. Start off by naming the two values that you hold most important. Things like accountability, belonging, diversity, fairness, joy, patience, service, or truth. Come up with a list of values and hone it down to the two that really resonate. Define the 3 or 4 behaviors that support those core values and the 3 or 4 that don't. This is where the hard work comes in, to really identify which behaviors will actually support your value system and which don't. One of the hardest things to do is to stay aligned with our values when giving or receiving feedback. Feedback is a tough position to either give or receive. Being in the right frame of mind to give someone feedback requires being willing to sit next to them, not across from them, accepting the need to listen and ask questions, and acknowledging their strengths and thanking them for their efforts, not just listing their mistakes. Giving feedback means holding accountable without shaming or blaming, and talking about how resolving challenges will lead to growth. Receiving feedback is tough because we cannot control the skill of the person giving it or know what the intentions really are. Tactics that can help include reminding yourself that you are brave enough to listen, that you can take what it is valuable here and leave the rest, and that this is the path to mastery. Your ultimate aim is to listen, to integrate the feedback, and to reflect it back with accountability. The third of the teachable and observable skills, sets of courage, are braving trust. We have looked at how to embrace vulnerability. We all have that. We're all vulnerable. How to deal with it. How to live our core values. And now braving trust. Let's unpack that. There are 7 behaviors that build trust over time. Braving is the acronym of those 7 behaviors. Boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, generosity. Boundaries. Let's see. Respect them and ask if it's not clear what they are. We have to know what those boundaries are, both your own and others. Reliability. Do what you say you will do and don't overpromise. Always show up. Accountability. Own your mistakes, even though it's difficult. Vault. Don't share information or confidences that are not yours to share. If you can't be kind, at least don't be cruel. Integrity. Choose courage over comfort. Choose what's right over what's easy, fun, or fast. Non-judgment. Ask for help without judgment. Generosity. Extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intentions, words, and actions of others. Again, these are behaviors that we need to learn. And we need to put in effort, and we need to focus and concentrate to learn these behaviors. What is the fourth of the teachable and observable skill sets of courage? Developing resilience. Let's unpack that. How do we develop resilience? Leaders invariably try to teach resilience skills to their teams after there's been a setback or failure. But that's like trying to teach a skydiver how to land after they've hit the ground, or even as they're in free fall. Google's 5-year study of highly productive teams found that the most important dynamic that set successful teams apart was psychological safety. Team members feeling safe to take risks and be vulnerable in front of each other. Everything that we spoke about to now, all these behaviors, builds the resilience to make sure that we can accommodate a certain level of risk. Let's look at reckoning. To learn resilience, start by recognizing when a situation or emotion has its hooks in you. Stop and recognize that and acknowledge that. We end up offloading our emotions onto others, getting angry instead of acknowledging hurt, pretending everything is fine when it really isn't, or hiding away the pain instead of facing it. We all know what the answer is to, how are you? I'm well, even though you break inside of you. The most effective strategy for recognizing an emotion is something that soldiers call tactical breathing. Let's look at it. There are 4 steps. First, hold the breath for another count of 4. Inhale deeply, hold it for a count of 4. Hold the breath for another count of 4. Exhale slowly through the mouth for a count of 4. And hold the empty breath for a final count of 4. Let's practice it. Inhale deeply through the nose to a count of 4. Hold the breath for another count of 4. Exhale slowly through the mouth for a count of 4. And hold the empty breath for a final count of 4. This will help us to recognize when a situation or emotion has its hooks on you, you acknowledge it, and you start to manage it. What about potential in leadership? Do we spend enough time on looking at potential? In the Harvard Business Review, August 2019, this image and also an article supporting this image was published. And in Golden Key International Honor Society, this is what we're very good at. We identify leaders when they are young, and we grow them into lion. We grow them into successful business people, researchers, ethical people, leaders of the world. When we hire people for their potential, and not only for what they have done, that's when we start to identify potential. The next time you are filling a leadership position, ask yourself 3 questions. 1, does the candidate have the skills to be a high-performing contributor or the skills to be an effective leader? The performance level of individual contributors is measured largely through their ability, likability, and drive. Leadership, by the contrast, demands a broader range of characteristic traits. including high levels of integrity and low levels of dark side behaviors born out of negative attributes. What are the dark side behaviors? Those are the behaviors that we're actually ashamed of, that we hide, that we don't want people to talk about. Great leaders, however, are able to remain open and to adapt no matter how experienced they are. They succeed because they are able to continually learn. Do you behave even if nobody is watching you? The second skill, can I really trust this candidate's individual performance measures that we look at when we look at potential in leadership? If you ask yourself the above question and the answer is no, take some time to think about what good leadership looks like in your organization. Are you looking for leaders who can drive great results and bring people together, listen and develop others? Or are you looking for leaders who can connect, innovate, and help evolve the business? Every organization needs different types of leaders at different times, and someone who performs well in their current role may not be the right person to help you reach your most immediate goals. Let's ask the third question when we appoint people. Am I looking forward or backward? The secret to selecting great leaders is to predict the future, not to reward the past. Every organization faces the problem of how to identify the people who are most likely to lead your teams through growing complexity, uncertainty, and change. Such individuals may have a very different profile from those who have succeeded in the past, as well as from those who are succeeding in the present. Young and inexperienced are not eliminating leadership potential. You should also take an extra look at the people who may not be ready and analyze them based on their ambition, reputation, and passion for your business. Often the youngest, most agile, and most confident people turn into incredible leaders, even though their track record may not be the best. Mark Zuckerberg, one of the most successful CEOs in decades by many measures, had almost no business experience before he started Facebook. Steve Jobs had not run a large company before Apple, yet he had the insights, connections, and drive to make it a household name. Let's look at the success. Success is not a reliable proxy for judgment. Let's look at 6 basic components of good judgment. 1, learning. 2, trust. 3, experience. 4, detachment. 5, options. 6, delivery. Learning. Listen attentively, read critically. People with good judgment are skeptical of information that doesn't make sense. One of the components of good judgment. 2nd, trust. Seek diversity, not validation. Leaders can draw on the skills and experience of others as well as their own when they approach a decision. You do not want everybody to always agree with you. 3, experience. Make it relevant but not narrow. Beyond the data and evidence pertinent to a decision, leaders bring their experience to bear when making judgment calls. Detachment. Identify and then challenge biases. The ability to detach, both intellectually and emotionally, is therefore a vital component of good judgment. Stand back and sometimes take the chance. Options. Question the solution set offered. In making a decision, a leader is often expected to choose between at least 2 options formulated and presented by their advocates. But smart leaders don't accept that those choices are all there is. They unpack and they probe for more. Delivery. Factor in the feasibility of execution. You can make all the right strategic choices, but still end up losing out if you don't exercise judgment in how and by whom those choices will be executed. Therefore, leaders need many qualities, but underlying to them all is good judgment. Those with ambition but no judgment run out of money. Those with charisma but no judgment lead their followers in the wrong direction. Those with passion but no judgment haul themselves down the wrong paths. Those with drive but no judgment get up very early to do the wrong things. Sheer luck and factors beyond your control may determine your eventual success, but good judgment will stack the cards in your favor. Golden Key membership will equip you with the skills we need to lead in future. These are the values: honor, empathy, leadership. We nurture critical thinking, thought leaders, creative problem solving. We build innovators, public speaking, powerful presentations, etiquette, networking, diplomats. The full circle of life, from steam engines all the way to artificial intelligence, all the way to purpose-driven leadership. What's the difference between being a leader of people or for people? Of people is used to show ownership or a distance from something. For leadership, on the other hand, the word for is used to show a purpose, a destination, or an amount of something. Follow us on social media to make sure you do not miss out on opportunities to develop your leadership skills. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the opportunity to share the thoughts of great leaders and researchers that I was able to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elmie, for that amazing workshop. I have learned a lot, and what I can actually can add to that was I am part of this society for more than 10 years, and what you have shared with us today about the different leaderships has allowed me to evolve in the certain aspects that you have mentioned in this video. And I am so much of appreciation of that for a platform that will allow our young generation, our new leaders, our young leaders to explore those different avenues by improving themselves. I can honestly say, I think I have transitioned from being a leader of people to a leader for people. And the workshop was so summarized and was so fruitful in a sense where I can actually self-reflect and just evaluate my growth over time. So thank you so much for the time and the effort that you have took out just to talk about us, about leadership. I think this is a topic that we actually need to have often, and just to have that self-reflection, like in which areas can you still improve on? Because I think you said the next evolution will be based on your heart. Currently, it's about your mind, but the next one will be about your heart. And I have significantly learned a lot from this session. I just want to say thank you so much for not just teaching us these things, but also loving by example. Ladies and gentlemen, you can show your appreciation in the chat room. And please note that we still have 2 days of leadership workshops, which is tomorrow. The next one will be 9 o'clock, which will be about virtual leadership. Please tune in and join the conversation. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Golden Key Mafikeng, Golden Key Southern Africa. Have a great evening and stay healthy and safe. Goodbye, everyone.